So now let's go over how you set up an analog sensor in the Factbird software. So to find your analog sensor, you're going to come over to the Sensors tab here on the left, and then find the sensor that it is that you want to edit the settings of. So in this case, we're looking at a filler vibration sensor, but this is the same for any of the analog sensors that you might be setting up. To navigate to the settings of that particular sensor, you click the three dots here and then click Sensor Settings. That's going to open up the Settings tab for this particular sensor. So we'll start here with the basic information. We've got the name, which you can edit should you wish to, but it's set to filler vibration now. Now, quite importantly, you need to change the sensor type to measurement when you're using this type of sensor. That's going to change the settings that you have access to, analog specific. Then you come down to sensor setup. Now, the type of sensor is analog here because we're working with analog sensors. A vibration in this case, you're going to change that to analog. Here we have it set by default to use analog input range. That's going to be in most cases. Now, you can do a scale input value. If you want more information on that, you can just hover over this question mark and that will tell you about the difference between these. But for now, let's talk about using the analog input range. So here you're going to select your sensor range. As standard for our analog sensors that we mostly use, that's 4 to 20 milliamps, but you have the different options here should you be using different sensors that have different ranges. But let's stick to 4 to 20 for the sake of this tutorial. Then you're going to put in your maximum and your minimum rates for this 4 to 20. So in the sensor that I'm using right now, this is 0 to 500. So I'm going to set 500 now because I've looked at the physical sensor and it's told me that the max for that sensor is 500. So I now know that the 20 milliamps means 500 in this case. And then we're just going to turn off the data multiplier because that's not relevant for this particular type of analog sensor. We can then move to the data tab, and the data unit that we're going to suggest is vibration here because we're using a vibration sensor. Now, of course, if you're using a temperature sensor, you'd pick temperature, a pressure sensor, you'd pick pressure. It's pretty self-explanatory, but in this case, let's pick vibration. And then the custom label of the data unit. Now, this is custom to you, but for a vibration sensor, we recommend millimeters per second because that's pretty standard for measuring vibration. So once you have all of that set up, your vibration sensor is ready to go and you can click Update Sensor Configuration. And now the settings have been updated and that sensor is now working in the way that you've told it.